Yeah, Lord of the Rings, Middle Earth game. Yep.
Yep. So, for those of you who don't know anything about this, why don't you tell me who you are and what you do?
So I'm Jon Hodgson. I'm the art director at Cubicle 7. I did a lot of the artwork on the One Ring. Didn't art direct the One Ring because we do that in partnership with Sophisticated Games, who are a really well-established board games company. Um, but yeah, my contribution was to do a lot of the artwork on the game. And obviously, day to day at Cubicle 7, I handle all the artwork stuff for our other games.
That must be quite a challenge doing the art for such a iconic
Yeah, just a bit.
setting.
We were just talking about this downstairs that look, like a prime example is we got a slot for SFX magazine, and we needed a picture of Smaug, which was on the list obviously to be done as part of the production, and it wound up that I had about 4 hours to do it, which actually ended up as a complete blessing because then you haven't got time to overthink it because you can do that very easily. I mean, we've got on the one when the cover is by John Howe, who you know from the movies and all the other years and years of Tolkien work. And again, that if you spend too much time thinking about that, you get nothing done because you have to, you've got to within. You can't get too fraught about it. However, that's always hand in hand with this like really. I go on about so much sort of abiding love of the material that everyone in the team has, and I think that's been borne out in the reviews. I think other people speak to that more than I can, really, in my completely biased fashion. But it's being made in this really kind of genuine way, that we all absolutely love the material. It's not.
How did it come about that you guys got to do this?
It's quite a long story. Francesco's downstairs and he knows all the facts on that, so I won't mangle the story too much. But it kind of came about that nobody was doing a Lord of the Rings game,
Right.
and a few doors opened, and we were in the right place at the right time to do it. And with the other stuff we do, Doctor Who role-playing game is a fantastic game, looks fantastic. With Cubicle 7 has a really well-proven pedigree in handling licenses and doing a good job of it. So yeah, we seemed like we were the right company to do it. I think the right kind of ethos within the company to handle it well, which hopefully we've done. Cross your fingers about this stuff. Again, I was saying downstairs, we feel really, really privileged that the chances when you handle a Middle Earth property, the chances are you are going to upset at least half the audience.
Yeah.
And I was fully prepared to have bottles of wee thrown at me in the street, because as well the artwork direction has been a very earthy, very early medieval, back to the source material, Beowulf, Dark Ages in inverted commas, that kind of stuff. And that's a risk because a lot of people will go, I just want the movies. The movies are what brought me to it. There's a whole generation that haven't even read the books but love the movies, and quite right too. They're great movies. But we kind of identified a different direction and took it and embraced it wholeheartedly. And again, I'm going to keep saying, as I was just saying downstairs, it feels like we got away with it. and we've been overwhelmed by the positive reaction. It's been lovely. It's been really, really nice because it was kind of, I worked on it 2.5 years before it came out. Francesco was working on, I think, another 2 years. So this was a real labour of love.
So, yeah.
The moment when it comes out and it hits the reviews, you're holding your breath.
Yeah, that must be like when you took that length of work,
Yeah.
and then it could all go wrong.
Yeah.
So tell us about the game as a game. How's it?
So that one of the first things that people will notice is very focused on is subtitled Adventures Over the Edge of the Wild. This first release, the core set is set in Wilderland, so it's the area. It's a huge area.
Yeah.
This is one of the challenges with Middle Earth, that it's vast. I know there's been some discomfort that it is focused on one area, which we are working out from. However, if you want the whole of Middle Earth, it ends up being totally shallow. So this is a very in-depth look at one area around Mirkwood. It's set at a very specific time period, which is 5 years after the end of The Hobbit. So you are pre-Lord of the Rings. The Shadow has been defeated in southern Mirkwood, so the Necromancer of Sauron has been driven out. However, we're on the brink of loads of really exciting events where the Nazgul return and retake Dol Guldur, but that's yet to happen in the game time. But we know all this stuff's coming, and there's all these portentous events that you can really use in your games. We've got Wildland-specific kind of playable cultures, so you've got Woodmen, Bjornings. See, this is where I'll get the game. I'll just have a look. You've got the Men of Dale. We're about to release a Lawmaster, that's the name for the GM in the game, screen. That's going to have Men of the Lake, Lake Men. They're going to be playable people of the lake, we should say. Tolkien's quite specific in calling everyone a man, but of his time.
Yeah.
Who else? We've got elves, wood elves, and hobbits and dwarves. Did I get everyone? I think I did get everyone. There's a nice arc within the, and this ties into the visual design as well. There's a nice arc within the, and I'm going to keep doing air quotes, mannish races, the humans. Humans is kind of the wrong word to use with Tolkien, but mannish is also sounds really sexist. So forgive me for getting it wrong both ways. This is a common theme with Middle Earth. You're I don't want to use a PGR word. You've had your chips, whatever you do with so many. Anyway, there's a really nice curve where you have the quite roughy tufty Bjornings that are quite. They're like a new culture within the canon. That Bjorn is gathering people, the sort of lost, and the people that live in the Wildland are gathering to Bjorn, who is leading people now. He's come out of his kind of period of isolation. He's gathering people to fight the Shadow and the Goblins coming out of the Misty Mountains. And then sort of one step up, you've got the Woodmen. So we kind of visually we based the Bjornings on quite early cultures, quite more primitive in inverted commas. We've desperately tried to avoid this was John Howe had put this in the plot very early on to avoid a caveman thing. They wear furs, and yeah, of course they wear fur, but they're a culture. They're not cavemen. And then yeah, the Woodmen are slightly step up. We used a lot of Frankish stuff. There was a beautiful moment where I was working independently of Francesco, and he had come up with a list of suggested names. There's a lot of support for naming your character within the text, and there's a list of suggested names for Woodman, and he had picked Merovingian Frankish names. At the same time, I was using the Merovingian Franks as reference for armor and weapons and so on. It was like, wow, this is like, because if you dig down in there, this is the stuff Tolkien was looking at as well. Maybe not in those terms because of when he was doing it, but it's all in there. You've just got to dig down and find it. Similarly, like I'm jumping back to the Bjornings, the sort of Tolkien being a philologist, you start to look into the word Bjorn and bee eater and honey eater and warrior, the words in various languages, dark ages languages use honey eater and warrior as interchangeable, and the antiseptic qualities, healing qualities of honey, and Bjorn keeps bees in the Hobbit, I should mention, and all of this stuff is all tied together really tightly in the language, and we've tried to do the same in the game and in the visuals. Especially talking about the game system, and I've gone way off track. Everything, all the systems within the game use the language of Tolkien, so your character can become weary, and that has an effect. Let me think of a really good example. You probably want to get Francesco, given that he's here and he wrote it, but there is so much in there that you have valor and wisdom as qualities of your character, and it's all tied into the language of Tolkien and Middle Earth, which I was very, very happy to be associated with as a sort of personally for myself outside of the team. That obviously, I'm very loyal to. Of course, when I was offered the chance to work on it, I'm like, yes. How much do I have to pay you? But then you have a moment after, I don't know, 6 months work, we go, I wonder if the game's any good.
That would be helpful.
Yeah, what if it's rubbish? What if I hate it? And it was a wonderful surprise. I love it. I think it's a really, really good game. There's a game tonight the Gar Hanrahan is running, Francesco's playing in, and places in the game are being auctioned. I haven't got any money. I really want to play that game. I'm like, is it really out of order to misuse my corporate connections? Yeah.
I think that says something about the game. One of the people who kind of worked on it said wants to pay money.
I really want to. I mean, imagine that though. Playing with. I mean, Gareth is a fantastic GM anyway. I mean, I would play any time in Gareth's game. Francesco playing. I mean, he's here. We're all here in Edinburgh, which is a fantastic thing. That almost all the team are here. Unfortunately, I get Jon Howe was a bit busy working in New Zealand on some film or other. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah,
some little, I don't know what it is. Bless. Thomas, who did some of the artwork as well, he's off in Poland, and Robert, who runs Sophisticated Games, couldn't be here this weekend, which is a shame. I'm missing Robert. Actually, it'd been lovely if he was here. But other than that, we've got Dom here, we've got me here, we've got Francesco here, so a lot. Gar here, who wrote Tales from Wildland, is just out in PDF, which is the collection of 7 adventures, and that's out now. So shame we haven't got it in print here. But
well, yes.
Yeah.
I also noticed that you've casually kind of
also
got another thing there. Shadows of Scotland.
Yeah, Shadows of Scotland. We should talk about that. Stuart, Stuart is here. So this is written by Stuart Boone. He's here this weekend as well. This is quite a mighty book. And again, this was another one that was a long time in production. I knew that was going to happen at some point. There we go. Uh, cut. No, long time in production, really thick book, really in-depth guide to playing Call of Cthulhu. It's a Call of Cthulhu book, obviously, in playing in Scotland, and again, been very well received.
Yeah.
A massive label of it. It's got a gazillion maps in, which I did because there was no way to possibly fund the amount of maps that are in it, and and huge amount of information. Some great adventures in there. So yeah.
I've actually played through one of them, and we actually did a review on the new Night Dice podcast.
Oh right,
Which
cool.
we
Cool.
like, really, no,
I was going to say, I hope you liked it.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was
Punch you.
the one where you've got the shadow beastie,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
you've got to end up kind of bringing it to light and all that sort of
Oh
stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No light. Oh, yes, yes. I know the one. Yeah, very good.
That was, yeah, we had a lot of fun with it. Well, fun is perhaps the wrong
Yeah,
word
it's
to
the wrong
use.
way.
It's Call of
Call it
Cthulhu.
Cthulhu. Yeah, we all went really insane. It was
Yeah.
terribly dark, and then I cried. Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of thing. But it was,
Yeah.
it was great fun.
Cool. No, good. And I always love this. So I like to get out. I love to hear these things because we all work actually in our own offices. I'm remote. I'm up here in Scotland. The
Yeah.
company's down in Oxford. It's great to hear people having fun with the stuff you work so hard on.
On a personal note, how did you get started in gaming, and how did you get started in being employed in gaming?
So the very first thing I did, there was a massive craze for fighting fantasy books at my school.
Yes.
Golden times of the whole playground at my little village school.
Yeah, yeah.
But everyone was playing a fighting fantasy book, rolling dice on the playground. I think the dinner ladies were quite sort of.
Time save games.
Yeah, yeah. You know what I mean. Did anyone? Well, I think at that point we probably played them properly like idiots.
Yeah.
And then someone's got the cheat. Like you're doing what? You've got your finger in there. And then that led on to I mistakenly bought the school book club offered Dragon Warriors paperbacks, the Corgi paperbacks, right? Yeah, right. And I got some of those thinking they were Fighting Fantasy books, but it was a proper, in inverted commas, role-playing game. About the same time, maybe slightly before, we had a neighbour who introduced me to Talisman, the board game, which I absolutely adored, and also first edition D&D, which I just did not understand. Age like 10, I just couldn't conceive of. I needed that paperback format, walk me through it, and this is great. So yeah, played a lot of that. Played a lot of Dragon Warriors. Finally, Redbox D&D. Then everything that everyone always says.
You were lost forever.
That was it. It was doomed then. Now, of course, myself, Gareth, who's here, and Ian Sturrock now publish Dragon Warriors,
Yeah.
which is kind of nice. On the side, we don't have enough time to do it properly, so we should apologise for that because it's a total labour of love.
Yeah.
And then you get asked to do the One Ring or something, and it's like,
Oh, if I have to do Tolkien.
yeah, I know. It annoys me. I need a clone. I really do because there's all this stuff we want to do. But yeah. So and then I always drew. I mean, come from quite an artistic family and was always encouraged to draw and so on. And always drew. Spent hours poring over like Tolkien bestiary and all that kind of thing. And yeah, always drew monsters. Went to art college, did all that. Ended up making props. Made rubber swords for my living for about 3.5 years. Whilst really ham-fistedly trying to become an illustrator, just didn't have any clue, as I'm sure anyone who's trying to do that, it's quite hard. It's a lot easier now you've got the internet, but before pre-internet, what do you do?
Yeah, how do you get your space?
Mistakenly send off submissions that cost an enormous amount to produce because you have to get it all colour photocopied and just did everything wrong for a very long time. I'm trying to think what the first. Eventually, I think I sort of pulled my act together, took a portfolio to Gen Con UK I think it was the Manchester one. The last Loughborough one was the first time I took it seriously enough to put together a proper portfolio. I'd put loads and loads of effort into that, turned up at UK Gen Con with big plans to get a job, realised I'd done no research, didn't know who to speak to, and was practically crying. And then resolved this will never happen again. That I've put all this energy into this portfolio and I don't know who to talk to. And I don't think I had the confidence. Now you just go up to whoever's behind the stand and go, "Oh, hiya, my name is. Here's my business card. Want some artwork?" And that's fine. That's almost how it's done. But I didn't know that. And then there was a guy. Now I'm going to get his name wrong. It was so long ago. I think he was called Seth. And I really owe him a massive debt of thanks. He saw my portfolio at me carrying it around, asked to see it, introduced me to Karen McNeil, who ran a sort of fancy arts agency called Red Slap. She's married to Colin McNeil, the 2000 AD artist, and they ran the business and took me onto her books then. Got me lots of work, which was great. I also was getting lots of work at the time. I think I did two. I got two quite big gigs at the same time. One was the Dark Continent role-playing game. Yeah, I did internal for that.
Doing Africa.
Yeah, yeah,
There are very few hats in
yeah.
Africa.
I know, and it's a beautiful, beautiful book. It's really good. Dave, who now runs Fanboy 3 in Manchester, Dave Salisbury, and I knew him because I was working at. This is a really boring story. I'm sorry. So I was working at Travelling Man in Leeds, the game shop, which again I highly recommend to anyone that wants to get into the professional side of it. Do some time in retail, and you learn who everyone is, who publishes what the games are, what people like, and you get a really good picture of the industry. Probably not from entirely the right angle, but it's better than nothing, you know. But I knew Dave; he was connected to Travelling Man as well, and he offered me that job. And at the same time, from Manchester UK Gen Con, business card with a little piece of artwork made its way across the Atlantic to AEG, and I got hired by Jim Pinto at AEG to work on Warlord card games, and they came out about the same time. So yeah, and that was, and then just kept going from there. And that was about 12, 13 years ago. Getting old, it's really frightening.
Sounds awful when you put it that way.
Yeah, I know. It's like, oh no, and I still think of myself as a sort of like young Turk, you know, and it's like, oh no, now I'm the boss, you know, I'm the art director. I employ people now, you know, people bring portfolios to me now, and you know, and you do your best to try and help them out, you know, and try and remember the times when you were also as clueless as they are, you know. Yeah, no, it's been good. I love it. It's brilliant.
And you've produced some beautiful games as well.
Yeah, I've done that one.
Oh,
Look
yeah.
at that.
Really, really good.
Yeah, it's yeah. That's great. I mean, it's a dream come true. Do you know what I mean? I can't. We have our hassles day to day, and it's really nice to come out and you know it's. You can well imagine producing a game like The One Ring isn't the easiest thing in the world. There's a lot of hoops to jump through, and to get it right to the level we want. I keep saying this. If anyone is expecting it in that sort of magazine publishing model that we will pump out supplements, I think you've probably got the clue already that's not happening, though it's certainly speeding up. We've got a lot of parallel production. There's a lot more coming out in the next 3 to 4, 5 months. There is a lot of stuff all queued up.
We will be keeping an eye out.
Yeah, there's some good stuff. And again, it's really hard because I'm really enthusiastic about it. When I first saw the manuscript for Lake Town, the booklet that comes with the screen, and there's like the playable culture of the men of the lake. Now, we're doing this straight away because that was originally going to be the first supplement. I mean, things change. It's the way these things work. That's really exciting because that's kind of absent from the core set, you know. And it's like, wow, we're straight out there with new, yeah. And we've got, I mean, Rivendell's coming up this year, which I'm living in. That keeps me awake at night. That's a hard one. Painting. That was one of the first pieces I painted for the One Ring. You know, what do you need first? Oh, Rivendell. Oh yeah, no problem there. That's easy. Yeah. Because you find you imagine it when you're reading a book, you imagine it as 3 or 4 different places. You don't have one fixed idea, and that's fine when you're reading a book, and that's the magic of books. But then when you've got to draw one picture of yeah, and it's for a role-playing game, so it needs to be a view of the place that players can use. I mean, I'm a big believer of that in art direction, that the art has a function. It's not just decoration. I want you to be able to show it to your players and go, you are walking on this path to this place, and it should fill them with the awe of seeing Rivendell. But that's quite hard to paint. It's a great idea to talk about, and then you sit there and go, oh no, what have I done? We did a cover to Cthulhu Britannica. The first it was Dom's idea. Dominic McDowell Thomas, who's CEO of Cubicle 7, said, why don't we do the Haywain with tentacles coming out of the water? I mean, that's brilliant. And then I sit there, I'll just copy the Haywain. That's just easy. One of the greatest English paintings ever made. Easy. What are we doing after lunch? But it's great. It's good.
Well, I am intensely jealous.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
It's beautiful stuff. I certainly want to. I'm going to be looking at the One Ring for what comes out. Really important. I love the whole San Francisco.
Yeah, I'm really pleased with some of this. Paul's downstairs, well, the layout guy. I'll see if I can get him. He might not want to come and talk to you. He might. We'll see if we can make him. Maybe I'll bring him up in a headlock. He's going to punch me in the face when he hears this. But he sent through the layout for this, and it's just beautiful, sort of Rennie McIntosh stuff. And we have such a strong team now at Cubicle 7. It's ridiculously talented people now working on all this stuff. See if I can stand that up.
Right, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for the time. I'll get back, and nice to speak to you. Fan of the show.